Retaining.
They count the shelters, then they count the cushion, they add up, they say this is how many homeless you do.
I don't understand. I took a different figure under federal law.
And you don't have to.
That number,
If you want to bring it up,
I wasn't gonna bring it up.
Asked you a question.
We're live. Okay, we are live, so.
But they're gonna
Come visit.
How to serve, you know, you have to weaken in and look at other relatives, you know.
Campus.
Hey,
Hey, Tony.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Am I at the head of the table today?
This coming second.
No, not yet.
Let me put Tony on.
Back there, yeah.
That's tight.
Used to be over here.
Oh, you have the VIN number.
Sir Baron. Where's yours?
I have my 3CE, my 3C. Can only do one at a time.
Hey, our chair is running late. Our vice chair is not going to be here. Who wants to be chair?
Mayor Delgado.
I'm chair.
Mayor. Yes. The happy person.
Someone who knows what they're doing.
Tony, oh, you don't know what you're doing. Where is he at?
Who's the
Someone
pastor?
is, someone has
Tony,
been
hey,
chair
you're the
before.
pastor, Tony,
Tony, you're it, Tony.
your pastor.
Here, take this off and start. Okay.
And if, since, we have this, before we start, can I ask the chair to,
I'll sit next to you.
take the action items first and leave the recognition items towards the end? Because based on your board's schedules that have come in throughout the day, we're gonna run into a quorum problem somewhere between 11 and 11:30. So I'd like to get the action item out of the way and we can do the presentation. We
Sure.
have absent today, we have Mayor Carbone, Ms. Worthy, and Ms. Rodriguez. Mr. Labar will be joining us late remotely.
Thank you.
We have alternate from Marina, Mayor Delgado, who you all know. And then we have several folks who identified that they have to leave between 11 a.m. and noon. So
So let's do it.
let's do that, just to let you know.
Would you like to be chair?
No, I'm just letting you know, Chair, so I'm doing my job.
Yeah, you do a good job, by the way. Okay,
Save that for closed session.
thank you. Okay, meeting will call to order. Thank you. Roll call, please.
City of Carmel by the Sea,
Here,
City of Delray Oaks. Here. City of Gonzales is absent, City of Greenville absent. City of King is gonna be joining late, City of Marina.
Here.
City of Monterey,
Present.
City of Pacific Grove,
Here.
City of San City absent, City of Salinas,
Here.
City of Seaside,
Here.
City of Soledad. County of Monterey.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you.
pretty close.
Honorable Baron, could you do the pledge of allegiance, please?
Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, great. Well, welcome, everyone. Good morning. Oh. Okay, bye, everyone.
Did a good job as chair.
Great job.
Hey,
Right.
He rocked it, he
You
rocked
rock, get the hell out of here. Okay, thank you.
Not long enough to qualify for retirement.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I apologize for being late.
And yeah, we're gonna go to public comments on the agenda, consent and action items, doing the recognitions last because of potential quorum issues.
You have a placard over there. One.
Oh, thank you.
Fine. Thank you.
Oh, my God.
So, all right, my agenda in here.
Okay, why don't you use this one?
I turn on the computer.
We are just here, review highlights of the agenda.
Okay, so I will turn it over to you for review.
Sure.
Of the agenda.
Thank you. On your consent agenda, thank you all for being here. I apologize for the confusion with the your board comings and goings, but sometimes it happens. On the consent agenda, we have item 3.7 is approving the program of projects. This is a ministerial action your board takes every year. We have the disposal of 11 MST owned vehicles that have reached or exceeded their useful life. We are working with local nonprofits to place those in good homes for future use. Those that aren't placed with nonprofits will eventually go to auction. We have our triennial review on item 3.10. It's a result of a 3-year federal audit. We have a 3-year contract for our workers' claims management and TPA. And then we have various claim rejections. Later in the agenda, we'll take at the end of the meeting various recognitions. And then on action items, we have our recommendations for our SB 125 transit operations and capital projects that we're working together with CAMSI on. Some new funding that your administrative committee received an update on earlier today. We have a new employee handbook. We are looking to authorize the CEO to enter into a contract for fuel deliveries, and then a quick typo correction on item 6.4. It's approve MST's FY 2023 incentive pay pool program, something your board discussed last month that is coming to your board this month for final action. That concludes my review of the agenda.
Thank you, Carl, for those highlights. So at this time, then we'll move into public comments. So any member of the public may address the board of directors on items that are not appearing on the agenda. Speakers will have a limit of 3 minutes. Please be brief and to the point, and the board just for transparency will not respond immediately to some of those comments, but we can ask our staff to follow up individually for some of those comments. And just as a reminder, to make public comments on Zoom, please make sure you're using your raise hand feature. I think by now we all know some of those Zoom rules, but just to reiterate that so we can recognize you. So at this time, I will take any public comments from those that are joining us here in the boardroom.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to introduce myself. My name is Steve Ramirez. I am the ATU president. We took over in July, and I just wanted to come here for the first time. I know some of you, Carl, good morning. And just let you know that I hope to be working closely with Carl and all of you. So good morning and thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Okay, any other public comments from those that are joining us in our boardroom? Okay, then I will take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom. Any public comments from those that are joining us via Zoom? And I don't.
We do not have anybody raising their hands, and you must raise your hand.
Yes, please. Okay.
Otherwise, we don't get in.
Okay, so I don't think we have anyone. Then at this time, I will close the public comment period, and I will move on to our consent agenda for today. And we have 14 items in consent. And so at this time, I will ask any of the directors if they want to pull any items from the consent calendar for discussion or comment. Okay, seeing none, then do any members of the public wish to pull an item for discussion or comment? Okay, see.
Move consent.
Second.
So I have a motion on the floor, a first and a second by.
First by Alejo, second by.
Second by Smith. Okay, so,
I have a question on the consent.
okay,
Is it possible that public comment on the consent in the future could be wrapped into number 2, public comments on matters not on the agenda? It's something we recently did at Marina, City of Marina, so we don't have to go back to public for consent. They have a consent comment. It happens at the public that we just finished, so that has 2 purposes: public comment not on the agenda or consent. And it just made the meeting a little bit more streamlined. So my question is that doable here in the future if this body wanted to?
If the body wanted to, you could do that.
Thank you.
So,
We have a board workshop generally in January rather than a full meeting. We give the board an update on where we are on status and action plans and items like that. Sometimes we bring forward things, what I refer to as parking lot items, things that have just kind of pushed their way off during the board meetings. We bring them back in January. That way staff doesn't have to spend a lot of time doing it in December doing a work. So we have, it's more of a workshop in January.
so thank you. We noted that then. So if we can come back and add that to our workshop in January.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Thank you for that, Director. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Do we need a roll call vote?
You do not have.
Call for a vote.
You can call for the vote. You do not have any remote members, so you don't need to do roll call votes to like, for now.
Okay.
Well, not until
Yeah.
Until
Mayor Labarge
Labarge
shows up.
gets on.
Okay, so he's still not on.
Still not on.
Okay,
Steve Adams? I did see Steve Adams. I don't know if he announced himself from the chamber.
So
Yeah.
we see Stephen Adams from the King City Council Chambers. Is that Mayor Labar? If that's you, please announce yourself.
yeah, and I know the mayor has a busy morning this morning. Senator Caballero is out in that area,
Right.
so that apologize. That's why I was late as well.
I'm going to assume Mayor Labar is not on yet, as he has not announced himself, so I believe you can do a voice vote.
Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so motion carries unanimously. Great, thank you. So we'll move on to our next item on our agenda, and at this time, it's recognitions. And our first recognition is Employee of the Month.
We were going to move ahead to action items.
action items
Because
first?
of, there's going to be a flurry of folks leaving
Leaving.
here between 11 and 11:30,
Okay,
so.
perfect. So let's move on to the first action item, which is receive staff recommendations for transit operations and capital projects funding in fiscal year 24 state budget as promulgated in Senate Bill 125, Senate Bill 101, and Assembly Bill 102, and provide direction. And I will turn this over to Mrs. Lisa Reinheimer.
Thank you, Chair and members of the board and other guests. My name is Lisa Reinheimer. I'm the Assistant General Manager for Monterey Salinas Transit. And this has been a team effort to follow and track this new funding for transit operations and transit capital projects between myself, between your CEO and also Michelle Overmeyer, as well as our California Transit Association and our legislative advocates. Earlier this morning, the committee heard a report on this new funding through SB 125. And so what it is during the fiscal year 24 state budget incorporated several pieces of legislation, which ultimately concluded $5.1 billion in transit and intercity rail capital program dollars, as well as a new zero emission transit capital program fund over the next 4 years. They're available for transit capital projects, as well as some flexibility for using the funds to support transit operations. The funds are distributed through the Regional Transportation Planning Agency, which is the transportation agency for Monterey County, and they are on Zoom for your information. And so the Transportation Agency for Monterey County, or TMC, has been collaborating and consulting with MST on this new funding. So over the 4 years, as we drill down into the available funding for this region, it's $52,475,803 in total, of which 1% is eligible to TMC for administrative purposes. So we submitted a list of projects to TMC in September, which included transit operations shortfall for fiscal years 24 through 27, which is just over $29 million. Our budget has a structural problem, as you've seen in the past. In June, when we came to the board for budget adoption, we have a gap every year moving forward, but we'd like to close that gap and further implement additional services through our comprehensive operational analysis, better known as the Better Bus Network. So presuming we can get to full staffing and fully implement the Better Bus Network, that structural deficit is going to be a problem for us, and this helps fill that gap. The second project is the Surf Busway and Bus Rapid Transit project that we submitted for construction. Over the last several years, there have been increases, as your cities probably already know, in construction costs, and the Surf project is not immune to that. I'm especially concerned about the volatility in the fuel market, as that has a major impact on the price of asphalt as we get into construction. And then the last four projects are all part of our Innovative Clean Transit rollout plan that your board adopted in December of 2022, where MST is required to transition its entire fleet to zero emissions by 2040. And starting that process now is important because we need the infrastructure available to us. We need the electric vehicle market, bus market to mature a little bit more. So as they're becoming available, we're purchasing them as we can and installing the infrastructure needed to support them. So the third project is battery electric bus charging infrastructure, followed by the Innovative Clean Transit compliance through 2030. We note there are 49 zero emission buses at $2.2 million. That is not nearly enough to buy 49 vehicles, just so you know. That would be additional matching funds. We would need to secure additional funding for those 49 vehicles. I will note that the Innovative Clean Transit rollout plan that your board adopted found well over $100 million worth of infrastructure investment that we would need to comply with the Innovative Clean Transit. So this is part of it, not necessarily all of it, for the project number 4. Project number 5 is Monterey Bay Operations and Maintenance Facility microgrid design and hydrogen fuel cell electric bus program, as well as the Salinas Valley Hydrogen Fuel Cell Electric Bus program. All of these related to Innovative Clean Transit rollout, and what it noted in there is we're not going to have just one strategy for what type of vehicle we use, because we have such a large geographic area. We can't simply go with battery electric buses. They don't have the range we need for our geographic area. So we're going to have to get into the hydrogen fuel cell market to be able to have the extended range that we need to deliver service. So in total, we have submitted $51,951,045 to TMC. We subtracted out their administrative fees. And what we are seeking right now is your discussion and support on these projects. I will say that TMC also has a list of projects that they would like to fund as well. And I have a list of them if you're interested, but we're also seeking further direction from your board. And Michelle is here to help answer questions, as well as Carl, but I'll stop there and look forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for that information. And it's great to see the number of projects that are being proposed through the funding. So let me open it up to our public to see if there's any comments from the public first, and then I'll bring it to the board for any comments or discussion. Any members of the public have any questions on the report provided? Okay, see none here, none in Zoom. Okay, then I'll bring it back to the board. Any of the directors have any questions on the report that's in front of us?
Thank you. I have a couple of questions, Lisa. The first is on the Surf Busway project. So $9,234,000 is enough to bring that budget back up to where it needs to be to get the project done?
No. There's also some additional funding we'll need through the TMC Measure X program. It's about $11 million that we're identifying right now. We're also at the 95% design level, where we'll need to also look at some potentially additional cost-cutting measures in the next 3 or 4 months, and we'll bring back a final budget to your board in the spring, summer time frame.
So when I look at the staff report on page 97, it says matching funds. That's what you were talking about. At the
Yeah.
bottom, and it says $15 million, not $11 million. So. And so when I added up these numbers and then I added up the $9 million in this for sort of allocation, I still didn't come up with $77 million. $77.6 million, which is your number. So I'm trying to figure out, like, I'm
Understood.
kind of curious as to how far out of whack we really are.
So Director Barron, you're wanting to find out then from the 77,000, which is for 77.
77.6.
So 77 million,
With this fund and some of the other identified funds.
how,
what is the
how
remaining-
much,
how much
what's
do we still have
remaining that we still have to
complete the
find?
project?
Right, so again, that number, the final number will come towards the March, April, May timeframe. It's the next step that we're going through after 95% design is getting together with our construction management general contractor firm, as well as our final design firm, to look at the cost. So we have 2 different firms going through an analysis and a prediction as to what that final cost will be. We did that at the 65% design level, and we'll do it at the 95% design level. So apologies that it's not matching up exactly. Unfortunately, that's sometimes the nature of construction, is you're not going to find the final number until, you know, you have all of your quantities, all of your specifications, all of the nitty-gritty detail available to you more towards the end of the project, or the end of before you start construction.
Okay, thank you. Then on number 5, which is the emergency system, sort of emergency system microgrid project. Like, I'm not really convinced yet that this is a workable solution, so we don't need to do this now. That I'm not convinced that in the case of an emergency, if it's like pouring rain, that a microgrid is necessarily going to work for us. So I'd like to just have some offline conversations about that.
Well, that's why we're bringing consultants in to
Okay,
design
that,
it for us. We don't know how it would work. We know that it's a concept that's being done by other transit operators closely, and the VTA is in the process of implementing a large scale. And so we're looking at a small scale and received a grant to do so, to do pre-construction and design work to see if there's any there.
so the grant you're talking about is a $750,000 federal earmark.
Yes.
Okay, and then this is $3.7 million to go towards this project to sort of
Yes.
finish out the funding of this project. $3.7 million, I would point out that, you know, could maybe be used on the Surfway if that project is $3 million short.
Absolutely, and the way this funding is set up with the RTPAs, the RTPA does have the ability to, you know, move money around in their approved
Mhm.
projects. So if we decide that this isn't needed and it's needed for something else, we could always make a request of TAMC to move money around. If
Okay,
that's-
so my comment on this is that, you know, we have experience running buses in emergencies, like, because we do that, right?
Right.
And so we have years of experience. And my question is, for you to take back to the consultants, is will the project that you're proposing here work in all of the past experience? Like, if we had this and we had an electric fleet or a hydrogen fleet or whatever that is, would this system that they're proposing have worked in all those? So of that, I'm skeptical, but I can be convinced.
Yeah, I
So-
think that's what we need to find out. And the goal is to be able to store 3 days worth of power for our fleet to respond to emergencies. Should the grid go down, if the grid goes down more than 3 days, well, then we're out of luck. But we do know that especially with hydrogen, if you can get hydrogen deliveries in, you can generate power with hydrogen and store it in large format batteries. So that may be a path as well. And that's again why we're bringing the consultants in, because I think we know theoretically what's available. We're still trying to figure out the practical applications.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. So Director Emilio has a question as well.
Lisa, thank you for the presentation. Appreciate that. Just a couple of questions. You mentioned, well, two things, SURF project, the coastal commission has, is it still in the queue?
It's still in the queue.
Okay, and then, because we have a couple of projects on the queue too, so. The other thing you mentioned, TAMC, that they may have some, you mentioned some projects, just curious, in Pacific Grove, they have something on Sunset and Congress. Anything on that, do you know offhand? I'm not
Well,
trying to put you on the spot, I just.
no, I don't know anything about that particular project, but Todd Mock, who's the executive director of the Transportation Agency, is online, or one of his staff could maybe answer that question.
Well. If they,
And they have a list as well. Lisa, you
Yeah.
had mentioned there's a list as well. So can you just send that list to all the directors so we have that?
Sure, they have 4 projects, the Pajaro Watsonville multimodal station. It's a rail project. They have Salinas Rail Extension, obviously a rail project. They have a King City train platform project and a Central Coast Rail positive train control project. I don't recall off the top of my head what those amounts are, but they are significant.
Todd Muck has raised his hand. If we acknowledge him, our tech team will let him in. Do we want to let Todd in?
Yes.
Okay,
Todd,
please let Todd in.
Yes, he raised his hand. Yes, go ahead, Todd. You can unmute yourself.
Trying very hard to unmute myself. Thank you. So the question about the Pacific Grove project is not part of what we're discussing today with the SB 125 funding. There is separate Measure X funds set aside for Highway 68 Holman Highway in Monterey and Pacific Grove. And TAMC has already designated some funds to the city that allow them to move forward on planning and design for the Congress and Sunset intersection. So that's a separate from this discussion today. Just want to clarify that.
Yeah, thank you, Todd, for that. And I won't ask you to unmute yourself. We'll just say unmute. So, any other questions, Director Delgado?
Yeah.
No, you do not need to touch the microphone.
Sorry. On number 5, the hydrogen, if there was a catastrophe, does MST, I know this is all conjecture, but does MST think of using other hydrogen fuel supplies in the area during an emergency, like at airports and things like that?
We haven't gotten that far. I'd have to say, we would, as far as a hydrogen supplier, our path is not to be a hydrogen producer. Some of our peers are actually, hydrogen requires water, right? So that's kind of off the table right now, at least on the peninsula. So we would have hydrogen shipped like we currently have regular fuel shipped to us. We'd be a hydrogen dispenser. So if we were to lose access to hydrogen, we would just have to make certain there's someone that can dispense to our vehicles. We are currently working with Santa Cruz Metro, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and San Benito as CEOs to develop some operating standards on battery electric charging and hydrogen fueling and fueling dispensing, so that we can standardize on the Central Coast, so that maybe we can save costs, do joint procurements, but also in the aid of, if there's a mutual aid situation, we have compatible equipment. And then we may also be able to jointly apply for grants and leverage some grant opportunities. So currently, we're my brainchild was the Central Coast Transit Super Region from Santa Barbara to Santa Cruz, San Benito. And we're going to try to, leverage and try to develop some Central Coast standards. So that would probably be part of it. I'm sorry it took such a roundabout way of getting there, but
No, it's
sometimes simple questions don't have simple answers.
No, it's great to see hear the big picture. So my little picture was in an emergency, the Marina Airport and probably Monterey too is in the process of trying to become a hydrogen fuel dispensary.
Right.
And so if we knew about this in advance, as we are now just engaging in this route, then maybe the fueling stations at external partners could be arranged with fixtures to go into buses in case of that emergency where you need to.
I will
use
be
them.
reaching out this week to your folks and both at Monterey and Marina Airport, to see if those possibilities are there. Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, and then I had a couple of surf questions. I don't know where I've heard it, but recently I've heard this $100 million figure. Is that that's totally erroneous? There's
That's
no
made
100
up. There's no $100 million figure.
Okay, so it's right now, it's the 77.6 million is the
Yes.
figure. And
Yes.
that's the total project budget approximately, because as our colleague mentioned, this only adds up to like 64.6 million. And then you add the 9 million that's in this document coming from the SB 125, 64.6 plus 9, you get 73.6. So 73.6 is a few million less than 77, and that's just because of the approximate place that we're in right now.
Sort of. So the 15 million Measure X funding that was identified in there, we also anticipate that we can get an additional $3 million from the Measure X program. So that would round out the funding needed. Keep in mind, these are all dollars that are associated from start to finish,
Okay.
not
And-
just construction.
Director Delgado, you have another question?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up with a, is it okay with comment or just a question right now?
Well, we can do both because we want to move on. But I do want to just make a comment just on your comment. Lisa, is it possible to just get, I know that sometimes with the project construction, you have a pro forma and it has what is the project cost? And then obviously there's going to be funding that's coming in and out, but at least so that way it's clear in terms of some of what we have currently, and the directors can see that and are aware of the current cost of the project. Obviously, we understand there's going to be variations, but at least so that way there's a clear understanding of
We'll
that.
bring an update to the next meeting and a memo that charts out where we stand.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Appropriate. And then my comment is that, as staff knows, I've kind of been on the fence on the SURF project due to impacts to Marina. And recently, staff is also aware that there's been a new individual, not a movement, expressing concerns about the SURF project. And so I have concerns about the SURF project that I do not know if they're well-founded or not. So my question is, can I meet with staff to discuss
Absolutely.
concerns?
Absolutely. So you can do that because I think that's better than trying to have the discussion here and multiple, there was multiple community meetings, multiple engagement on the SURF project that have been ongoing for the last several year and a half or even longer. So I think the best is for you to be able to have a discussion with staff.
I've participated in those meetings along the way. My last question on the SURF, kind of like the Coastal Commission question, what's the status with state parks approval or weigh-in on this project? 'Cause there was a letter back in 2021 where they had some
State park
concerns.
supports.
Okay, so is it-
Subsequent to that letter, we had a site visit with the state park staff and showed them on site what the vision was and what the project would be. And 24 hours later, they sent us a letter supporting the project.
All right, could I get a copy of that? I haven't
Absolutely.
seen that. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. Thank you.
Thank
That
you,
didn't get
Director.
as reported as well as the other in the local media for some reason.
Okay, so any other questions from the directors before we move forward? Okay, Director Smith.
Real quick, and it's just a reaffirmation of something I think I heard you say, 95% design completed. And when do we expect that we'll be at 100% design completed so that we can dial into the exact numbers that I think we're all kind of leading towards? So when do we expect that?
I'm
complete
itching for
design?
those final numbers myself, and what we are planning to do is reconcile between the construction management, CMGC, construction manager, general contractor firm,
Yeah.
as well as our own design firm who has cost estimating on the
Right,
team,
right.
reconcile this to 95% design. We're also working with the affected local jurisdictions on that 95% design to make sure that we're, really close to where we need to be. Maybe there are a few tweaks. And then we're going to the Transportation Commission for the 25 million of TIRCP funding sometime in March, April timeframe, bringing back to the board a final construction number in about May, June, July timeframe. So in the next 6 to 9 months, we'll have really, really solid numbers and contracts to be able to say, this is the number.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that's the key is for the board to realize that if we assign staff to cook the numbers and give us these spreadsheets and we start getting into it, it's so subject to change between now and February, March, April. So we're at the point where I think we have to be patient and wait for the 100% design and to get all of the examinations on that. And then as we all know, in all of our cities and counties, the project costs, as you've mentioned, are so variable. So this number is going to go up or down. And then the estimates coming in April and May will be great to see. Yeah,
Thank you, Director Smith. And just to that point, I think on the SURF discussion, so we'll agendize it
Yeah.
for the next meeting, just to kind of get an update. And if there's any questions or comments, if there's additional information, then we'll bring it back up at that time. Seeing that there's a lot of moving pieces and it's moving forward. So we'll do that. Okay. So any final comments that have not, or questions that have not been asked yet? Okay, so with that, if there is no final comments or questions, then we need a motion, or is it just a recommendation, staff recommendation?
This was provided.
Just to receive.
Direction, if you, so we're going to continue to pursue this, this will move forward at TAMC. MST will be advocating for these projects through the TAMC process. So some of your board sits on TAMC, so you won't be surprised.
Right, so it's going before 2 committees, I believe, in November, Rail Policy Committee, Executive Committee, and then to the full TMC board in December, in early December, because they combined their December and November meetings.
Perfect, thank you, Lisa. Thank you for that. And then so we will move on then. Thank you for that recommendation. We'll wait to hear back from that, and then we'll move on to item 6-2, approve the updated version of the MST employee handbook. And I will turn this over to Kelly. And this is on page 101 of your package.
Good morning, board members. Kelly Halkin, Director of Human Resources and Risk. I'm here before you to ask for approval of our updated version of the MST employee handbook. Our current employee handbook was developed in 2010, but was approved in 2011 by the MST board. During that time, rules, regulations, either federal, state, or local, have changed significantly. And as such, we have written individual policies to address those changes in law or regulations. In 2015, I entered into the endeavor to try to update our employee handbook. But as policies and rules and regulations shift so quickly in the state of California, or even on the federal level, it seemed quite impossible just to tackle that. So during COVID, I scrapped my draft and I went back and I started going through everything. And so forth. The edition that is before you has been the updated vision. This has gone through staff. This went to an outside local legal firm to review, particularly by Heidi Quinn, who had done revisions on or had been working on my updated MST employee handbook to begin with. Then it came back to staff for review to go through to look at their revisions, illegals revisions, as well as just any revisions that staff had. It was also a 2-day process or actually a day process going through with the MST Employee Association leadership, as well as HU leadership. We went through each portion of article of the employee handbook to note any changes, concerns, whatnot. And what you see before you is the grand finale or draft of what I'm hoping to get approved and get out to our employees. At this point, I do have approval from both our support from both of our unionized groups on this version that you see before you. So I'm here to answer any questions that any of you have regarding what you have.
Okay, thank you, Kelly, for that massive endeavor to update the handbook. Let me take it out to the public first to see if there's any members of our public that have any comments. I see none in the boardroom, and let me take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom. Okay, see none via Zoom either, so I'll bring it back to the board for any questions first, and then we'll have comments. Director Barrera?
Ms. Hawken, when you're saying, you got support, does that mean approval?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Every line.
Oh, great.
Clear.
Let's do it.
It really is, the employee handbook is just that, it's the employee handbook. So not only does management need to make sure that every rule and regulation is following what state and federal laws are, but as well as getting the feedback from the employee groups as any questions they have, understanding or making sure that the interpretations, they can understand the interpretations as well.
Thank you, Kelly. Any other questions?
Yeah, my question's on page 37 of the handbook where it talks about inappropriate attire. And it mentions unnaturally colored hair, excessive jewelry, tattoos as being a no-no. So my question is, given that there's a lot of respectable, tend to be younger people who do this kind of dress appearance, and the MST, I'm sure, wants to attract the next generation of people to be employed here. My question is, how well vetted have these prohibitions been in that line of thinking as far as recruiting employees?
What we're looking at is excessive, particularly excessive jewelry or piercings, because we want to make sure like there isn't the nose piercing with the ring, with the chain that goes to the ear for safety reasons. So, if you have an assault, we don't want to make sure somebody grabs that chain and then rips somebody's ear or nose. We're talking excessive piercings and whatnot. I mean, there are people within our staff that do have piercings, that do have tattoos, but we're talking about like completely covered or things that would create a safety risk.
Or something profane.
Or, would violate your unlawful harassment, like nudity, tattoos, maybe anti-Semitic type of tattoos.
So more egregious type,
Very egregious.
so.
Can you address the unnaturally colored hair, how that fits in?
Right. So like, this is okay, but we're talking about like green or blue.
Rainbow.
So it's
We,
not- So earlier we were talking about safety, and I'm
Yes.
wondering about the hair. Does that address safety, or is that something else?
I think it's just, we want to remain professional, and I think in general, blue hair is not necessarily professional. We haven't come across this issue in a very long time. That doesn't mean that people don't dye their hair. Hello. But you want to make sure that, it's not like neon green or neon yellow or orange. I mean, that's the type of anything that would be unseemly.
Well, it's kind of a DEI issue. When you start getting into preferences and
Correct.
professional unquote, our generation may not have the same definition as some other generations.
We have a Office of Civil Rights and a Diversity, Equity, Inclusivity Committee.
And they
that
reviewed
has
this.
Reviewed and approved. All of it.
And
There it is.
the legal team that I worked with, this is not, this is what their bread and butter is. And we had a lengthy discussion about that, and that's why we came up with the word excessive. That it leaves room to have discussions and meet with individuals to address these issues.
Excessive is not used in the hair department. It's just appropriate and professional is used. So it's a little more subjective.
It is, and we can address that on a case by case
Case-by-case.
basis.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that, Kelly. And thank you. I don't know if there's an inclusion in there in terms of the review also by the DEI and our Civil Rights Committee, but I think that's important as well. Especially given our current discussions that are being had everywhere in terms of making sure that we are inclusive and that we are diminishing some of those barriers of people maybe not coming into this industry or different barriers that may exist when they are in the industry. I think that's really important.
And your board will be receiving an update from our civil rights officer, Deanna Smith, next month on where we stand with those very programs. So that is on tap for you all.
Okay, perfect. Good. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, I had
Comments?
a short conversation with Carl, and I think he talked to you about this a little bit, Ms. Halkin, about the letter that's on page 6 of the packet, is sort of the introductory letter. And I'll just say, I found it to be, pretty heavy-handed. And I don't find, it says welcome at the top, but the letter itself is not welcoming. This letter is, a legal CYA letter about the things that you can and can't do. And, we're gonna hit you on your rear end with a stick if you do these things. And, and I just didn't find it to be, I didn't really find it to be in keeping with the kind of culture that I think we should promote here. And Carl, I understand that people don't read this, like they kind of skip over it. But, to me, these things are important. And so, I'll vote to approve the policy and procedure manual, but I really didn't like the letter.
I'm not sure.
Thank you. So let me just, sorry.
This
thank
is
you
the
for
letter
that.
that's
So
on
the letters on page 6 of the
page
beginning.
108 of the packet. It's page 108 of the packet. It's on page 6.
Of the
On page 6
handbook.
of the handbook.
Yeah, right.
page 108 of
That's the
that.
Yeah.
table of contents.
So let me just, I'll leave it to Carl to comment, but I just want to reiterate, also to the board, especially being in other, obviously, we all have different employers that we work for, and especially in government or these agencies and entities, that I think it's really important to, maybe we can tailor it a little bit more friendly, but I think it's also important for our employees to understand this is your manual, this is your handbook, here are what we expect of you, and here are, some of the also the protocols in case this item is violated, this is what's going to happen. I think that's really important. And this is an employee handbook for the employees to be able to understand what those policies, what the culture is as well, and what some of those repercussions are. So I think it has to be included. We can modify it, but I think some of that information in terms of what their employee rights are, but also what the expectation is part of what a handbook is supposed to provide to our employees.
So again, my issue is not with the content of this letter, it's with the tone, and the sort of stick-based nature of the words that are in the letter. So,
Yeah,
I don't feel like it.
I'm trying to find it.
I don't feel like, well,
So are those,
I
Yeah.
believe the issue is in the third, if I may, my understanding is probably the third to last paragraph where we say
Yeah.
this is no rights expressed or implied to continue employment, all terms, conditions. It's legal to say.
know.
It's legal language.
I understand, like, again,
Right.
I completely understand that the content of the paragraph needs to be in the package.
Right.
Like, I understand that. But the way that this is written, you don't have this right, and you don't have that right, and you don't have this other right. When we talk in public, we talk about not using the word you. When we as elected officials address our constituents, one of the things that we should not do is say, you do this, you do that, you do this other thing. And this paragraph is about you. You do not have this right. You do not have that right. You do not have this other right. And I believe that the tone of the paragraph is not in keeping. The tone is not in keeping of this paragraph and the paragraph before, is not in keeping with the atmosphere that we should promote here.
but thank you. So let me.
So
just
I'm
close-
finished. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. So let me close this out because I know that it does have on the, and I get it, but the other paragraph does say for them to really review this. And if they have any questions or concerns, that they do address those immediately with their supervisor in HR. So giving them an opportunity, I think it's also really important. So I think this letter at the end does provide that for them to be able to deliver or say any of the comments or concerns that they may have. So Director Emilio, you have a comment or a question?
I would like to approve the updated version of the MST employee handbook.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
All
comment?
opposed? Oh, we did.
We did public.
We
thank
did
you.
public
Sorry.
comments. Opposed.
Wait,
I
but
lost track.
Can I say something?
Oh, so we had, okay, so we had closed the public comment already,
Oh.
so let me open up,
My first time here.
can legally, what can I do? Because we closed the public
So
comment.
there's already been a motion made, it was
Yes.
seconded, and there was a vote. This item is considered closed. If you'd like to reopen it, you can do a motion for reconsideration directed by Mr. Emilio to then open up to receive comment. Otherwise, I recommend moving forward.
So,
Yeah,
so my recommendation as a chair is if we can move forward, please.
Yes.
It's already 11 o'clock and I know we have other items that we need to discuss. But we will be happy to address any comments at the end. Oh, not at the end, but we will be happy to. If there's any of the directors that want to meet with you directly, they can.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on to, all in favor, say aye. Did we do that already?
Yeah, we did.
We did?
We did.
Okay, good. Okay, so let's move on then to the next. Oh, yeah, the next item on our agenda, 6-3, authorize the general manager CEO to enter into a contract with Mansfield Energy for the purchase and delivery of fuel valid from November 1st through February 10th of November 1st of 2023 to February 10th of 2027, with the option to extend one additional year thereafter in the amount not to exceed $22.2 million. And I will turn it over to Stephen Bruno.
Thank you. Good morning, members of the board. My name is Stephen Bruno, and I'm the purchasing agent for Monterey Salinas Transit. I'm here today to recommend that you authorize your general manager and CEO to enter into a 4-year contract with the option to extend for one additional year with Mansfield Energy for the purchase and delivery for fuel for a total contract amount not to exceed $22,200,578. MST's current contract with SC Fuels for providing fuel expires on October 31st. Sourcewell, a purchasing cooperative that competitively bids all of its contracts, has awarded a fuel contract available for piggybacking by public transit agencies to Mansfield Energy. As a public transit agency, MST is eligible to piggyback off the Sourcewell cooperative, which reduces staff time, procurement time, and provides materials, equipment, and services through competitive bidding. The purchase of biodiesel and unleaded gasoline fuels are included in the board adopted budget for fiscal years 23-24 as well as fiscal year 24-25, and will be included in the future budgets for the duration of the contract. The total amount of this contract includes the option year and assumes inflationary and volatility factors in the fuel market. MST will only pay for the amount as it is dispersed from MST's fuel tanks to our vehicles. MST requested and received pricing information from both Mansfield Energy and SC Fuels, both of which are authorized sellers on the Sourcewell Cooperative. MST conducted a cost comparison of the two quotes, revealing that Mansfield Energy's annual pricing was approximately $70,000 less than SC Fuels' annual pricing. MST's operations staff foresees no operational or logistical problems with switching fuel providers and supports this recommendation. As a result, staff recommends piggybacking off the Sourcewell contract and entering into an agreement with Mansfield Energy for purchasing and delivering fuel to power our fleet of buses and support vehicles. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bruno. So let me open it up for public comments on this item. So I will open it up for the comments for any of those that are joining us here on the board. Seeing none, then I'll take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom. Okay, so I see no hands raised, so I will close the comments to the public and then bring it back to the board of directors.
Second.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor, first and a second. You have a question?
Yeah, no, sorry to beat the hydrogen horse, but it's a 5-year contract. So do you know if this company, if we were to have hydrogen in the next 5 years, can it be modified to just help us with hydrogen?
I don't believe so. But we would source a separate contract for hydrogen at that time when we know more.
Thank you. I'm just learning, so that's why I was asking.
Okay, perfect. So we have a motion on the floor. We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so motion carries unanimously. We'll move on to our next action item, which is 6-4. Approve.
FY 23 incentive pay pool for
Got it. For eligible Monterey Salinas Transit Employees Association, MSTA, and confidential unit employees, excluding the general manager and CEO.
Correct.
So I will turn this over to Carl.
Yes, thank you. This was a matter that came before your board last month. We now need to take action in open session. This completes that process. This action would initiate your board's direction to provide a 3% incentive pay pool to eligible MSTEA employees and confidential unit employees. For those who were not here last year or unfamiliar with this, this is a one-time payout. It does not increase base pay. It is also non-PERSable, and it also does not include the general manager or CEO. So I do not benefit in any way from this recommendation. And this is the direction your board took last month for us to bring this forward in open session.
Okay, so we're bringing this forward in open session. Any comments from the directors? Okay, seeing none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, so we have a first and a second,
Tony and Dave.
and Dave. Yeah, Director Pacheco, okay, so,
Vice Chair Pereira.
okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so motion carries unanimously. So we will now then go back to,
Presentations.
Unless, did you want to go to closed session first while you still have your?
let's do that. I know some people need to leave. Some people need to,
Joe needs to leave at 11, Ed is
11:15, I
11:15.
think it's
11:15. I
I
need to-
could be a little bit later. We're going into closed session.
I need to leave by 11:45.
So
So,
the prerogative of the chair, we could go to closed session now and
Well,
come back.
Yeah, I would comment that, we didn't do this last month because we were missing like one or two board members, and now we're missing 3 board members. So even with the complement that we have here, do we still want to do this, or do we want to postpone it again? No offense to
taken.
Carl.
no,
Okay.
no, and I know that we postponed it the last time, and my only concern is with timeline. So I know that we have this projected, so that way we have to bring it back to the board in open session. And then it has to be approved, and my understanding it's by December, right? So we have that timeline, and if we defer it now, it's gonna move us beyond. I'm
Set
just concerned
closed
it's gonna move us
session,
beyond.
you could set closed session at the beginning of the meeting and take action and bring it back to open session in December, if that's your concern, just offering that.
Just go do it now.
Just go do it now. I again
I
have
agree.
no,
No.
It's like you.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Director Alejo. Let's make life easy today. So let's close it out. Let's go into, if we can go into
Public comment for closed session first.
enter public comment for closed session. So at this time, I'll entertain any public comments for the closed session item that we have before us today. And that closed session today is on.
It's item 10.1, review general manager, CEO performance valuation.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
conference will negotiate regarding the agency designated representatives.
that's what she was gonna say.
Thank you. Exactly. I found it now. So.
That's why he gets hired of the big bucks.
And not us, right? Okay, so any comment on item 10-1 from the public that's joining us here in our chambers? Seeing none, any of that are joining us via Zoom? Okay, seeing none, then we'll close the public comment section and we'll go into closed session at this time. Thank you.
I'll be standing by.
Kelly, is that you? This is Mike Labar, King City. Can you see me now? Are they in a closed session? You did good. That short, sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Presentation to city council where you stated most
So we have Tony's needs to come back. And Director Amelia. Yeah.
That was back then, I was in there. Yeah. I went to legal. That was the first thing, my first job was like $35,000 a year. That doesn't help. Yeah. Off the record.
Yeah, I get it. I'm hoping everybody can get through. We're done with all the business though, so,
We'll go through that.
okay.
Take me back to where I need to.
We're gonna go to 4-1. You're gonna, first you're gonna report out in closed session.
Yeah, so thank you, everyone. And thank you for the flexibility also. I know we kind of changed the agenda for today. I just want to thank the public that's with us and also the directors and the staff here for just the flexibility to modify. So we can make sure that we had the majority of our directors here with us to make important decisions. So with that, I will turn it over to our council to be able to report out on closed session.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The board did meet in closed session on one item, and this was for review of general manager CEO performance evaluation under Government Code Section 54957. And it also included conference with labor negotiators under Section 54957.6. The board did have a general discussion as to the general manager's performance, reviewed his evaluation, and is bringing this back for an open discussion in the open session, likely next month.
Perfect, thank you. So now we will go to we'll go back to agenda item number 4, which is recognitions and special presentation. Today we have 4 of those. So our first one is our October 2023 Employee of the Month, Mr. Vince Deng, and we have our the project management coordinator. Now we'll turn it over to Mrs. Reinheimer.
Thank you, Chair and members of the board. I am super pleased to introduce Vince Deng. He's our project management coordinator, who's the October Employee of the Month. Vince came back to us last year after a stint in New Orleans, but before that he was with MST as a coach operator and a communications system specialist. And for his employment now as a project management coordinator, he's just done such a phenomenal job, and I could take the rest of the day and explain to you how wonderful he is to work with and the accomplishments he's already had, but I'll give you the brief one. I saw Director Pacheco saying no for the rest of the day. Let me just highlight a couple of things. First of all, he's very enthusiastic. He's very, he's not a yes person, but he's also not a no person. He thinks about, problems strategically and how it fits into our overall goals and objectives. And he's helped us out with the implementation of the new bus stops as part of the Better Bus Network. He's helping us with the South County circulators, converting those on calls to circulator fixed routes. He's working with us on the planning and preliminary engineering for the Salinas operations and maintenance facility. He's taken the lead on coordinating the 5-year capital improvement program. And he's also been instrumental and a lot of time and effort in supporting the Surf Busway and Bus Rapid Transit project. So with that, I'll say, Vince, you're doing a fantastic job. And I really appreciate all the support that you've given me in trying to get all these projects going, and also to the organization. You're a true asset to the team.
Everything you can do it, Lisa. You know the routine.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have an EOM, Employee of the Month pin for you. We have a resolution from the board to you, and the most important part, your Employee of the Month check.
Yay.
Yeah.
Welcome to today's.
Thank you, board. I appreciate you recognizing me. Just wouldn't be possible without everyone's help. And I work with an amazing team, and I'm happy to keep helping everyone else out. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Welcome back, first of all, and welcome back to the MST family, and welcome back to Monterey County. Super excited.
Yeah.
So,
Right
yes,
now.
so let's do a quick photo and then we'll come back.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Vince.
Thank you, Ben. Okay, so now we will move on to our next recognition, and this is for 25 years of service. The anniversary for Robert Cruz, coach operator, and who will,
I don't believe Mr. Cruz is here today,
Norm's not here.
and Norm is at APTA, as is Marzette. So Kelly, do you want to say anything about Mr. Cruz?
Madam Chair, also let me request, it's great to say something about him, but if we could get Mr. Cruz here sometime in the near future,
That would be great.
yes, thank you.
I was just gonna say, Roberto Cruz is a coach operator, so it's extremely hard to get the coach operators off of the road. As you know, that service is integral to get people to and from where they need to go. But Roberto Cruz has been an employee who has been with us for quite a few years. He works out of our Salinas division. He is a kind man, super sweet. The public loves him, his passengers love him, and he is adored by many of his coworkers. I'm looking at Steve back there. So we wish Roberto all the love, and we hope to keep him for another 10, 15 years if we can. So
Yeah, we try to see to make sure that that they know how important it is to this board, also the work that they do on the committee. So let's give Mr. Roberto Cruz the round of applause. So we'll move on to our next recognition, and this is now MST received MST's 50th Golden Anniversary recognition from the County of Monterey Board of Supervisors. Director Alejo is here, so will you be
We have a plaque here that you all provided us.
Oh, yeah. We didn't get it, right? I already did this though.
Right, did it at the County Board of Supervisors. So do you want to do something here? Okay. Yes. You want to accept on behalf of them?
Never turned down a photo.
Okay.
Well, to our board, a few days ago two meetings ago at the Monterey County Board of Supervisors meeting, we wanted to acknowledge all this board, all the team, all the administration, all the rank and file, all the drivers, everybody who is part of the Monterey County, the Monterey Salinas Transit family. So the board just wanted to acknowledge the 50 years of great service to this community. And we acknowledge that what you do for our youth, our college students, our military, our seniors, people of all ages, all walks of life. Monterey Salinas Transit provides exemplary transit service in so many different ways. So this resolution, I won't read all of it, but it is acknowledging the 50th Golden Anniversary of Monterey Salinas Transit. It says that on September 1st, 2023, Monterey Salinas Transit celebrated its golden anniversary with customers, employees, community partners, federal, state, and local elected officials, emphasizing their district's continuing commitment to connecting communities, creating opportunities, and being kind to our planet. It was on September 1973 that Monterey Salinas Transit Joint Powers Agency, comprising of the cities of the peninsula, started service with 6 well-worn buses inherited from the defunct private operator Bay Rapid Transit Company. These 6 buses ran four routes, serving the cities of Monterey, Pacific Grove, Carmel by the Sea, and Seaside. And local legend has it that on the first day, 4 of the 6 buses suffered mechanical breakdowns. So humble roots here, you know. But then there's more just on how these other cities joined. From those humble beginnings, over the next few years, the service area continued to expand. And in 1981, the city of Salinas joined the Joint Powers Agency, creating MST. And then over the decades, new mobility services were provided throughout the region, and annual ridership grew from an initial 500,000 in 1973 to up to 5 million annual passengers. Eventually, the small and mostly rural cities of Gonzales, Soledad, Greenfield, King City, and Sand City joined the governance of the newly created Monterey Salinas Transit District in 2010. So this is how we got here today. Therefore, now be resolved that the Board of Supervisors, on behalf of all our county and all our residents thereof, hereby recognize and celebrate the 50th golden anniversary of Monterey Salinas Transit and for continuing to deliver high quality and professional public transportation services to the people of Monterey County. And with that, the board is very proud to acknowledge your outstanding work.
Thank you, sir. Let's, great resolution here. Come and join us. And there we go. And we'll get on social media and all that good stuff. There we go. Okay. Here it goes. You got it? We got it, yeah. Yeah, Jeanette.
Good done that.
Tried to get out of it. Thank you.
Do another 50 now.
All right. Good job, Luis.
All right.
Well, I've been here for 20 years.
That's just amazing. Wow.
And a few more years, I can look in the mirror, I already know why it's called a silver anniversary.
And how many birthdays? It's amazing. Okay, so we thank you so much for that recognition, Director Alejo. So we'll move on to
Let's see, 7 reports and information items. That would be the next item.
so we'll move on to.
Oh, wait, did we miss something?
4-4.
Oh, 4-4, I'm sorry. In page 91 of your packet is a copy of the resolution that Congressman Panetta. He read this into the congressional record, the 118th Congress. So this is, part of the congressional archives and will be there forever.
Yes, and we thank Congressman Jimmy Panetta for being such a big supporter of Monterey County and especially MST. So a big hand to.
In his office, if you've been there, he has a low coffee table in the waiting room, and he has underneath the glass challenge coins from the various military installations that he's collected over the years. And right there on top is the MST 50th anniversary coin that we had created. Was already there by the time I got there. I went to hand him one, and he said, "No, there's one already in here." So,
It's actually that
Yeah.
anniversary.
Mine too, yeah.
there you go.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So we will now move into item 7, which is our reports and information, item 7-1 through 7-5. That's on page 115 of your packet. Any comments or questions on those? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move on to board reports, comments, and referrals. And we have 8-1 to 8-3 reports on meetings attended by board members and MST expense. I don't think any of our board members have gone to
For a while.
for a while. Yeah, okay. So board members' comments and announcements at this time. Do we have any board members' comments and
Madam
announcements?
Chair, just a friendly reminder, October 30th.
October 30th, our Gilroy Caltrain service ribbon cutting. We have 2 events. First one is at 8 a.m. at the Salinas Transit Center. And we'll have local officials. Tony, you'll be there representing as vice mayor for the city of Salinas. There with your shirt. And then at the Gilroy Caltrain station, I believe at 11 a.m. We'll be having the mayor of Gilroy, as well as Assembly Speaker of the Assembly Rivas, and our local Congresswoman our new local Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren will be in attendance at the Gilroy ribbon cutting. So that'll be a returning service back to Santa Clara County after a little over 3-year absence from COVID. So happy to be serving that neighboring county as well.
Quick question, Carl.
Yeah.
At the Salinas event you just mentioned, would that be an opportunity to honor that driver that wasn't able to be here today?
I don't know. We'll have to take a look at it. We're working on.
What day is that fall on?
That's a,
Monday.
Is it Monday?
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll look into that.
Okay, that sounds good. If you can send us information on those, that would be great as well. Okay, and then just on my end, if the CTA conference in November, Carl,
Yes,
so I will not be able to attend, but I know we're talking about the board operations. I think it was a board operations committee. If there was any members that wanted to attend the CTA conference, if you can reach out to Jeanette or Carl, please.
any board member, and we'll take a look.
Okay, and now moving on to board members.
Not sure you do have Director LeVar's hand for this.
Director Labar, apologize, Director Labar has joined us, and he's joining us via Zoom, and I know that was noted at the beginning on the agenda. Director Labar, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to quickly note, I was able to have the opportunity to use line 23 to make it to Salinas. I just want to really congratulate the bus drivers. It was a very, very pleasant experience. The bus was extremely clean. And the better bus network changes, it was so much quicker. So good job, everyone. I couldn't believe how fast I got there, and honestly, I didn't believe I was already there by the time it was ready for my stop. So everyone's doing a good job on that end. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Labar, for those comments. Okay, any other board members before, we'll move on, board members referrals for future agendas? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move on to our next item, and those are the reports that you have before you. Those reports are provided every month, and unless there's any questions on those reports. And if there's no questions on any of the reports, then we will adjourn this meeting at 11:35. Thank you.
Right attack for your next meeting.
Wow, that's, that was something.
Couldn't have done it without you, Tony.
I know, thank you, Tony.